One day, a very long time ago, a couple of decades ago, when I was doing some bushwalking at a place I was looking after, I went around some rocks, some boulders, and there were these plants that looked a little bit unusual, as though they were not supposed to be there. Obviously natives because of the area that I was looking after. I decided to investigate a little bit more and found out they were the local bulb, the Proiphys cunninghamii. And since then, since the 80s, I have been fascinated with this very simple to grow, very easy to grow, very simple looking bulbous plant, native to Queensland and northern New South Wales. I've got some here in the background, and I grow a lot of them, and I have grown a lot of them over the last 40 years. And one of the key things I like doing is growing them to the point where I can have the little baubles and pot them up and grow them so I can have even more. But why am I fascinated with this particular plant? It's a native to Australia. It's a native bulb to Australia. I find it incredibly easy to grow, and it acts a little bit like a deciduous bulb in that it drops all of its foliage during the cooler, colder winter. But is it dropping its leaves because of the cold, or is it dropping its leaves because that is when it is dry? And that is the reason I think it is dropping its leaves, because it responds to the natural conditions. It responds to nature. And that is what we need to try to remember when we grow a lot of our garden plants. In my journey of learning more about garden plants, I strive to grow plants in the best conditions that they are used to. But I also push them to the limits, so some plants die and some live. But with the Proiphys, after it has flowered, and these are the little flowers in the background, they're just like little tulips, I should say little daffodils, that hang down in little bells, almost like a jonquil, but with no smell. After they flower, they produce round little baubles where the flower was, and these are what fall down and grow into brand new plants, new bulbs, and they pop up and they produce through that method. You can't cross-pollinate them, you can't get different colours. There are different species though, and that relates to the different parts of Australia where these plants are. And I do believe some can be found in some other Asian nations around and near northern Australia. So where do you go to find this particular plant in the wild? Well, if you do find them, don't pick them. I was lucky enough to get them from a collector after I saw them and inquired prolifically where to get hold of them. And I have to admit, back in the 80s, probably the collectors were not doing the legal thing. But I'm trying to do the best I can to grow, propagate, and distribute these plants as best I can. And yes, I sell a few on the side. The other place to look for them, obviously, is online, but head to your local native plant specialist store, which hopefully will have the Brisbane Lily, also known as the Moreton Bay Lily, because it grows in that area as well. How do you look after it? Well, I don't do much. I try to replicate nature. I try to give it the rainfall, or I should say irrigation, when it rains, and give it a dry period when there is no rainfall. But they do love good potting media if you're growing them in pots. They do love extra mulch and organic matter, because an enriched soil will mean a bigger plant, bigger leaves, more flowers, more bulbs for next season. Something very important to remember about that. If you're growing them in a pot, which I do, keep them watered during the growing season. Use a long-lasting, slow-release fertilizer, a 3-month or a 6-month, or if you can get an 8th-month fertilizer would be really, really good. And if you've reached the end of that time period, do a top dressing to make sure the nutrition is there for the plant. But always remember, when a plant is dormant in winter, it will neither take up nutrition or water. So you can be incredibly a lazy gardener during that period because they're resting, you may as well. But come spring, these things start to flower. Right now, at the time of this filming, This is the first week of November, and depending upon the weather, this plant can flower 4 weeks earlier or a little bit later. It is reliant upon the weather conditions for it to put on its flower display and how it grows, whether it's got the foliage or whether it doesn't. Remember, follow nature for the optimum results with this particular plant. I personally would love to see more landscapers use it. I would like to see more councils use it in their parks and gardens and plantings. It should hopefully be utilised on revegetation projects more, so this plant is readily, not readily available, but readily seen. So it's not like a rare collector's plant people will steal. But for those of us gardeners who have it, please do as I do, which is try to keep it growing and propagating and try to mass produce as many as you can. Collect the baubles, pot them up and distribute this plant so that more people can grow it. And we can encourage, if all of us do it, encourage more landscape designers to incorporate it into gardens. Share these plants with neighbours, share them with friends, share them with family. Highlight them in floral displays. I mean, these are really, really cute. In fact, I'll show you some closer images of this flower so that you too can appreciate the appeal these have. For me, they're the subtropical equivalent of the jonquil. They have that beautiful little appearance to them, that dainty, pendulant flower bell, without the smell, without the fragrance. And I think they're just a pretty little plant. They don't like full sun, as you can see in this case. It's last few weekends has been extremely hot and a bit of sun scalding has occurred. The stalks can grow to about 20 to 30 centimeters tall, and I've had a few gardeners who I know who said theirs reached about 50 centimeters tall. The flower heads, these are fairly young. This is the first year these bulbils have flowered. They're about 2 years old, so I'm incredibly pleased with these. This one over here is last season's bulb, so as you can see, tiny leaves. This is the first year for leaves. So it only takes 2 years to get flowers. The first year is all about the foliage. Please track these down in your local garden centres. Ask for them to get it in for you. Try to search places like land care or native plant specialist stores. Yes, you might find some online, but going to places that specialise in native local plants is probably the best recommendation I can give to get more people to grow this particular plant. Now I'm going to show a few more images, but if you have liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. And my name is Paul Plant. This is the Paul Plant Horticulture channel. I do a YouTube video every single day. So if you love the subtropics, the tropics, the diversity that we have, both native and non-native, please follow this channel for more information, more tips here in Southeast Queensland, but also throughout the tropics and the subtropics, whatever country you live in, whether it's in the Americas, Africa, or Australasia. Until next video, hope you enjoy the rest of this one. This is the Brisbane Lily, also known as the Moreton Bay Lily, Proiphys cunninghamii. It's distinctive in that the leaves are there all year round and they're large and green. And then at this time of the year, late spring, early summer, the flowers are produced. Now there can be up to 20 or 30 flowers in this daffodil-like arrangement. There is no scent, and the flowers produce seeds which are self-sterile, which means propagating is done by the baubles that are produced after the flowering has finished. The Brisbane Lily is native to southeast Queensland and I believe in northern parts of New South Wales, but it is definitely one plant worth looking out for if you are a collector of Australian native plants and live in a warm climate.